After every disaster or crisis we witness, frankly, every awful story we're forced to cover around here, we say the same thing. America is such a generous country, and we are. Americans give almost reflexively. They do like to know their donated money is then being put to good use. And that's the crux of this next story. What it is that nearly after 18 years after the Oklahoma City bombing, a fund set up to help the victims still has $10 million in it unused. The story tonight from Harry Smith.
They called it a superstorm. Its destruction was deadly and indiscriminate. And just hours after the water began to recede, money started pouring in for Sandy's victims. When America is confronted with tragedy, wallets fly open. All told, more than $400 million was donated for Sandy relief. And less than 2 months later came Newtown. Money flowed as freely as the tears for scholarship funds, memorials. But beware the combination of cash, compassion, and good intentions.
All the words in the world are no substitute for getting the money out the door.
Ken Feinberg handled the distribution of billions of dollars for victims of 9/11, the BP oil spill, Virginia Tech, and the Aurora movie theater shootings. He says the money must go immediately to the victims with no questions asked.
Do not attempt to restrict how the funds will be used. Do not attempt to educate or explain. Here's the money. It's yours.
What did you find in your experience that makes that so important?
Who am I to put myself in the shoes of victims and tell victims with the best of intentions, you can only do this with the money? You say that, in my experience, and you are fueling the very emotional anger and frustration of people that are innocent victims.
We took a look at one tragedy where that is exactly what happened. It was April 1995. Timothy McVeigh, an Army veteran with a grudge against America, parked his truck full of explosives in front of the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. In total, 168 people were killed, including 19 children under the age of 6. Dolores Watson worked in the building for AT&T, but was off-site when the news came.
When you heard there was an explosion at the federal building,
I panicked.
Her 18-month-old grandchild, PJ, was at daycare inside the building when the bomb went off. She feared the worst, but hours later found him gripping to life in the hospital.
what were the extent of his injuries?
PJ had second and third degree burns over 65% of his body. He had rocks embedded in 2 places in the back of his head. They did not expect PJ to make it.
But PJ did survive, though his lungs were nearly destroyed in the bombing. Even now, every breath is a struggle.
How is your health now?
It's still pretty bad. I mean, I still have the same reduced lung capacity.
As I'm listening to you make the effort to get enough lung capacity, even just to have a conversation.
As far as conversations go, this is normally how I would keep a conversation with people.
It may seem difficult to understand today, but not $1 of federal money was sent to Oklahoma for victim compensation. Yet from across the country and around the world, money poured in from people who wanted to help. Millions of dollars in donations was immediately dispersed. A year later, $14.6 million was left. That money was entrusted to the Oklahoma City Community Foundation. The purpose? To pay for scholarships and long-term health care for the survivors.
Can you describe what it has been like over these, 18 years now of dealing with the fund? What has that experience been like for you?
It's been horrible. It has been absolutely horrible. I try not to reveal that to PJ. The struggle, the attitude, the lack of respect, they lacked empathy for the bombing victims.
In 2005, then 11-year-old PJ needed major surgery on his trachea. Dolores, who became PJ's sole guardian, says the foundation refused to pay for it directly, but instead steered her toward Medicaid to cover the cost.
Why would the state of Oklahoma have to take money from taxpayers when money's been donated to the bombing fund to meet the medical needs of the children?
Dolores is not alone. Felicia Joyner lost an ear in the explosion. She says she just wants contact lenses because without an ear, her glasses won't stay on. Gloria Chipman's husband was killed in the bombing. She says she had to fight the foundation for tuition money for her daughter.
You get denied so many times, you give up, and you do whatever you can to survive.
The disgruntled survivors have formed a group called the Survivor Tree. They all believe the Oklahoma City Community Foundation cares more about preserving the fund than providing assistance. They say they are always pushed to state and federal programs first, resulting in a constant grind through government bureaucracies that has left them exhausted and angry.
I think that they felt like that we should just move on with our life. And all of us wanted to move on with their lives, but you can't move on with your life when you still have some major health issues hanging over you.
Let me ask you this, PJ. How do you feel knowing what your grandmother has been through? What are your feelings toward the foundation?
I don't understand why they have made it so difficult for not only myself but other survivors and victims to help get the medical stuff they need, their surgeries. I just wish my grandma didn't have to go through all that.
Angry survivors were stunned when they recently learned there is still more than $10 million in the fund. But what really shocked them? The foundation decided to reallocate nearly $4.5 million away from the survivors to a variety of causes, including the Oklahoma City National Memorial, other communities hit by disasters, and future research on disaster relief.
They decided to give $4.4 million away, and we're on welfare. I can't even imagine that.
Do you know why we're here?
Nancy Anthony, president of the Oklahoma City Community Foundation, says that she is fulfilling the mandate the foundation was given when the bombing fund was formed, as well as following the requirements of the IRS.
Are you aware that some of the survivors feel like it's very difficult dealing with the foundation? Some have said they feel like they've been treated like second-class citizens.
Yes, we are aware that they have said that, and there's a lot of anger about what happened to them, and probably anger about us for perhaps not doing what they perceive they would like to have done. Yes, but I also know that there are a large number of people that for whom we have helped that don't say that. But I think everybody has to be realistic about what can be done and how much money what money can really do.
But what of the more than $4 million the foundation earmarked to give away, not to bombing survivors, but to other causes?
Why not just plow that back into the fund? Because you know you have these long-term needs, and you have people knocking on your door saying, "We need help."
I guess maybe that's a good point. We were thoughtful about it at the point in time when we did it. We had perhaps a different perspective of it, so that can be revisited.
Anthony says she can't discuss specific cases, but says the foundation has helped about 1,000 people, including Dolores and PJ. She says by steering survivors toward government programs like Medicaid and Pell Grants, the survivors get more help, and the fund stays solvent.
This isn't about distributing money, it's about helping people move forward. The money is just another tool. You have to try to say, what's your ultimate goal here? If the goal is to give the money away, well, we could have done that a long time ago. But I don't know that that would have been terribly effective.
Is the foundation's role in this to be paternalistic, for lack of a better term?
I guess that might be what we have done, whether that's good or bad.
For them to say, we don't trust you with giving you this money that you're going to provide the care for PJ that he needs, that's an insult. I've done it. I'm doing it. I will continue to do it.
If they called you in now and said, Ken Feinberg, you're the guy with the track record. We've got $10 million or so left here in Oklahoma City. You take care of this. What would you do?
I would probably, based on that hypothetical, do what we did a few months ago in Aurora, Colorado with the movie shootings. Here's the corpus of the money. Let's determine who's eligible to receive it and how much, and distribute it in the next 30, 60 days without restriction. We're done, close down the program, it's over, and that's the end of it.
Harry Smith reporting tonight from Oklahoma City.